Welcome to the Gearbox Podcast, where we dive deep into the dynamic world of automotive repair and ownership. I'm your host, Jimmy Purdy, an experienced technician turned shop owner with a passion for sharing insights, stories, and conversations with industry leaders. This is the Gearbox Podcast.
And today, it's part 2 with David Marks.
You don't know what the hell you want to be when you grow up. Honestly, that's what.
Well, you're just searching for the paycheck.
Yeah, exactly. There's no passion, there's no drive, there's no why. So for the service advisor's position, you know what? I've pulled one person away from the dealership. Not that I wouldn't be willing to do that again, but my next one will be I want somebody that's got dedicated automotive, independent auto repair shop experience. It's just a whole nother world at a dealership.
Yeah, it's not as personal. It's totally different. And
Yep.
we tried the same thing with the collision industry and trying to commingle that. And that's, the collision industry is a completely different, and not as a technician, but as an advisor, right? You figure, oh, they're talking to people are upset. Yeah, it seems like the same. Now, collisions, it's all insurance, right? They're just paid to sit on the phone with the insurance companies. They're not paid to deal with people calling, hey, I'm stuck on the side of the road. Hey, I want to bring it in right now. Hey, you looked at this and now it's doing this. And so it's just a totally different industry. But you think at the time, like, well, it's both automotive, so we could probably pull someone from collision. No, not even a chance.
Wow, I never thought of that before. I would have thought the same thing. It's automotive. It's automotive. That
Yeah,
makes a lot of sense.
you're dealing with people with cars and they break, and it's like the technicians are just doing the body work instead of the mechanical, right? But no, it's a completely different animal. We learned that the hard way, but we gave someone a shot, gave someone an opportunity, and it didn't work out, and they moved on, and it was fine. It's amicable, and we both learned something, right? So that was
Yeah,
important.
that's exactly how you learn, and not that I wouldn't be willing to try the pulling somebody away from the dealership. A lot of it had to do with this individual, this person just couldn't make the transition. But yeah, now I know, I got experience at something that I didn't have experience at before. And next time I will be in a much better position to get them properly trained and handle that. Cause, I work with an automotive coach. I'm not going to say which one, cause I'm not here to plug that. That's not the purpose of that. I flat out asked him one day on a scale of 1 to 10, how good of a job I had done. This was about 2 weeks before she quit. He said, "You're about a 3.5 out of 10, Dave." And that was kind of a wake up call to me. I was like, "Whoa, holy cow." But that helped. That's what I wanted to know, because I knew I didn't think I'd done the right job and the best. And I wanted somebody that was going to be honest and had an outside opinion. And he gave it to me. And then she ended up quitting. Um, I still don't think it was me. It was her. I don't think even if I was a 7 or an 8 or a 10, I think the situation still would have, it probably would have manifested itself a hell of a lot sooner if I had done a better job, because the writing would have been on the wall.
Yeah, that's a
Actually,
good point.
now,
Yeah.
now that I think about it, but you know what, Jimmy, what separates guys like me and you is we want to learn that. I had an exit interview with her, and because which I'd never done. I told my payroll service, I don't care what this costs me. I want our last check to be paper, because I wanted to do that. And this just shows everything what kind of a person she is. Is I asked her, what could the company have done to retain you? I got to think about it. You got to think about it. Really? Are you kidding me? You can't just be a woman and say it. No. So that told me everything I need to know about her.
Yeah, that's
I just
fair.
gave her a check and left. I wasn't going to, I thought about just like, I thought about it, dude, believe me. I'm like, no, that's not good enough. You know why? Just tell me. Just tell me, because I was approaching that with she's right, I'm wrong mentality, so that way I could get the information that I know is going to help me make this the same mistake again. Because you're right, it's ultimately a mistake. She didn't. There's a couple different ways I could look at it. Look at it that it's my responsibility that I hired her, which is true, and that doesn't let her off the hook for who she is either. So it's balancing that, and in my head, finding that happy medium where I will feel comfortable doing this again. Because what I've also done is, just because I had a bad experience with her, that doesn't alienate everybody else that I could hire from the dealership world that won't turn out like that.
Yeah, it's per person, right? And
Mm-hmm.
there's plenty hired dealer techs and went really great or went really sour, right? Because sometimes the dealer tech doesn't like the way the dealers ran. Some dealer techs really like the way it's ran, but they don't like the people there, right? And so they come into an independent and they think it's going to be like a dealer atmosphere where they can go camp out in the corner. And if they run into a problem, there's 5 other senior techs they can go ask questions to, right? They get an independent shop with 3 other techs, and they're all independent. Like, I'll help you, man, but I don't really know you, and that's not really my job position, right? And so that burns them out real quick. Like, oh, this is not what I thought it was. It's like the spotlight's on you now. Like the owner's walking the floor. Hey, what's going on? Like, and they don't like that. And some other techs move from the dealership because that's what they want. They want the interaction with the owner, and they want someone to appreciate them, right? They do all this work in their little bay. At the end of the day, they get the paycheck, and that's it. See ya at the dealer. But they come to an independent, man. If I'm seeing someone kick ass, I'm like, dude, right on, man. You got that stuff done already, and that's all they're looking for. So yeah, you can't blanket statement it. I guess is one way to put it, right?
No, dude, you brought up a really good point. For me, it's because I got two tax dudes at every shop in the nation dealership once, flat out, and I know that they could probably go get more money other places, and they wouldn't get that personal touch. Because I'm like you, every day when they leave, hey, thanks, I appreciate your help today. I always make sure that they're acknowledged when I get there, and I do little things. One of my master tech, he loves these Jack Link's meat stacks from Costco. Well, guess what's always in the fridge for him? That when it gets, dude, I'm in St. Louis, so it's hot, it's humid this time of year, so I make sure the fridge has plenty of Gatorade in it. I got snacks that the young female technician, she likes. We got plenty of cold water. And it's those little things that we can do as business owners in general. There's a lot more to keep retain employees than just paying benefits. Is that important? You're damn right it is. But these two individuals, they're still with me because my master tech will be 4 years this November. He ain't going nowhere. I know he's not. And it's because of that, what you just said, walking the floor. Is there anything I can do to help? How's it going? A lot of times they just say, well, go back up front and leave me the hell alone, in a nice way, in a joking way.
Yeah.
But that's what you want as a shop owner. Get the hell out of here. What are you doing here? I can't get this car done with you over here. And
I
when
was
it's
like, I
done,
was I was ordering pizzas. I just wanted to see what you wanted on it.
oh yeah. So here's another thing. What I do is this is really cool. I think this is a golden nugget. Is all the rebates that we get from the vendors, I share that with the staff. And my friend that flips cars on my dealer license, he had a 70th birthday. He had a birthday party at this bar. He plays in a band. I brought the shop with me. We used our rewards cards that we get from the different vendors. That paid for the tab. They get to bring their
Nice.
spouse, their kids, that type of stuff. It's little things like that. And I know there's a lot of guys, a lot of good independent repair shop owners that do that. And it's little things like that. They won't quit. Yeah, that other place may put that big nugget in front of them. We see the guys advertising all these different signing on bonuses. But what keeps them here is, are they going to get treated like that? Is this the places put on the big signing bonus? Are they going to make me feel appreciated? Am I going to feel valued? And the two people that I have, they scratch my back, and the advisor, she didn't have the ability to do this. It's they scratch my back, I scratch their back, and they're not keeping score. Because these two, I tell them there's no paid time off, or no, I mean there's no like policy for it. If they need to leave early, leave early, because I know, or if they got to come in late, because I know their quitting time's 4:30. If they're 15 minutes from getting a car done, they're going to take that 15 minutes and stay, because they know that I'm going to, if they need to leave early or do something, I'm going to do that. It's that type of environment is why they won't go to, and it makes them feel appreciated, knowing that, hey, we got each other's back and no one's keeping score.
A little bit of just mutual respect, right?
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. But the right
And
people fit that environment. And that's what I'm looking for.
yeah, and I'm not the best at it. I mean, I try, and it's tough. Some days are tough. Some days you get in your head a little bit, and it's like, there's problems going on, and it's just tough to be positive about it. But always keeping snacks and drinks, and taking them out and celebrating the wins. And it kind of sucks when we I think our sales goal was like $3,000 away this month. From hitting our sales goal, and it's like, well, we're not going anywhere. It's like, but you got to hold the line. Like, where do we draw the line? Well, we drew the line at the sales goal and we didn't meet it. So we worked really hard this last month. It was hot. It was miserable. We had a lot of warranty stuff, but we didn't meet sales goals, so we're not doing a monthly thing. And it's tough to take that away because it's beneficial for everybody. Like, it's good to go do that, bring their wives, their kids, and hey, let's go hang out and do. But you know what? If we didn't come together as a team and meet the sales goal, then we can't just go do that. So, and that's like the hardest
Yeah.
thing about doing those incentives and those bonuses, right? It's like, and then they ask about their bonus paycheck. Hey, where was I? And it's like, well, you didn't meet your bonus criteria, so you don't get it. Like,
Right.
sorry, like, I don't know what to tell you.
Right.
And then that's when it's tough because then they see that floating carrot, right? Oh man, I can go over there and they'll give me $5,000 to start. And I think that's where it's important to start having the conversations of like, so what is it that you want? How much do you want? Let's make that happen, right? But then they don't meet that criteria, and then they just see this grass is greener somewhere else, and that's when it gets tough because you're like, well, then should I give it to him to retain him? But then that would defeat the purpose of the of the bonus. And it's like that's tough for me.
Yeah, that's why I do the rewards program. You know, that we get a tire rebate from our independent tire distributor here in St. Louis on a gift card, on a Visa card. And then I forget who bought Federal Mogul. It's called Overdrive. That whole conglomerate. We're on a
Oh yeah,
rebate program with them. And then we're on a rebate program with other vendors. And they just put money in the gift card. And that's what I do. That's what I use. So it's not tied to sales directly. Do we have sales goals? Yes. Do we talk about it? Yes. Do I emphasize that enough? No, that's a fine line, Jimmy, and I don't know. That's hard to do. That's what it is because I've brought that stuff up uh, before in the past. I've had other people tell me, in meetings, don't talk about that. Talk about this stuff. I don't know. I'm not the best at it, and I don't have an answer. I don't know. I'm still learning. There's
yeah,
some fear there. Talking about this, you're right, Zach. It's right. It's like, okay, my staff's busting their ass. Things happen. They're just beyond anybody's control. How do I talk to them about, hey, we didn't hit this number when I know we did the best we could with what we had to work with at that time? That's hard to do, Jimmy. And I
yeah,
just I
yeah,
I don't. I mean, I think once I get the right advisor and I get them up to speed, that's when we can have those and start to incorporate those. I haven't had that. I'm doing it now. I'm good and I'm decent, and I know that there's somebody out there that's better than me. I mean, I was taught you always want to hire people that are better than you at the positions you're hiring them for. Um, that's what I
right.
was taught, and I'm still looking at
Always. I
for
mean,
for yeah.
it's tough to find those people for one, and then for two, it's even harder to measure yourself and put your ego aside and say like, oh, they know more than I do, because you lose that sense of control a little bit, right? But the more you do it, like, I think the better it is. Like, oh man, I'd rather hire someone that knows what I'm more than me. Obviously, I mean, you're not gonna go try to do plumbing. You hire a professional to come fix your plumbing, or I mean, you and I could probably fix the plumbing, right? But you get my point. Like, you hire the professional to do it because it's just easier that way. Than you pay him whatever it takes. But if you don't know if you don't know what that job is supposed to be, you're kind of out in a gray area. Like, you get a really good service advisor and they're selling a bunch of stuff. I'm not a good salesperson. So it's like, how are you selling that? Right? Is this like, and if I'm not as good as they or better than them, then I don't understand their tactics. Then maybe they're doing it in a way that doesn't align with my compass. You know what I'm saying? So it's like that's when you get into that area where like I don't know if that's right. Like, man, you're selling a lot. You're making me nervous. Like, that's great, but why? Right? Like, how is this happening? And if you're not that skilled of an advisor yourself, like, I don't understand how you're doing this.
Yeah, I think
And you
that's an
want to turn a blind eye and say, yeah, that's great, but also like, um, I want these people coming back too.
yeah. I don't know. I know in dealerships here, at least in the St. Louis area, they're all unionized. St. Louis is a heavy union town. That would be looking at CSI scores. I've gotten better with the last one. We use a digital marketing company. I'm not going to say which one because it's not what we're here for. I don't want to plug anybody else. They record all our incoming phone calls on their tracking numbers, and then I have a voice over IP system that would do. It would be listening to those phone calls and just understanding that, hey, was this in our core values of the company? Did this was this ethically and morally right? Were they properly trying to, attempting to educate the consumer on what the whole car needs and not just what they want to sell and what the tech wants to do? And as long as they meet those requirements, and like, hats
Yeah.
off to you, as a
Yeah.
business owner. Hats off,
And
hats
it's
off,
and
hats off to you.
Yeah. And using that is obviously that's obviously how you would track that, but you're playing it from the back seat, right? Where it's the same with like a vehicle diagnostic. If you don't understand cars, like if you're a shop owner, you've never fixed cars, and there's plenty of them out there that do really well. I don't know how, but like right on, because if I didn't have my mechanical aptitude, I'd like, I don't know. But you get a diagnosis, right? And it's like that doesn't sound right. I can usually, there's always an exception that happens that sneaks through, right? Like we talked about earlier. But usually with a diagnosis, I can say that doesn't sound right, and I got to go out there and check it out, right? And I can play it in the front seat instead of playing it from the back seat. And that's where hiring someone beyond your own skill level, if you don't truly know that aspect, you have to play it from the back seat. You got to listen to the phone call after it's happened and then play it from that side, which that's what you have to do is growing pains, right? There's no way around that. But it's one of those things that makes everyone really uncomfortable. They want to train someone from the inside, but oh man, I don't know which one's easier.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. I've had those. I was practicing having those difficult conversations with the advisor to just quit. Was actually listening to those phone calls. So what I did is I listened to mine as well, on because the digital marketing company that I use, we can listen to the incoming phone calls, we can rate the phone call, leave notes, and who picked it. Is I would critique mine as well. Like, here's where I did good on this call. Here's where I did bad, and here's where I get an improvement. So what I did is we listened to some of mine first, and it's like, here's where I answered the phone really good, and then here's where, as yeah, I answered the phone really good, but I sound like a complete, like just a complete dumbass during the rest of the call.
Yeah.
And I think because what the point I wanted to emphasize with her is that I'm not all high and mighty. I don't know it all. I don't think I'm the shit. I'm not God's gift to service advising, and I can learn too, and I have an improvement. So that's how I approached it, was to constructive criticism to myself, and I'm very self-aware, and I've learned how to do that with myself without beating myself up. Then I could ease into their phone calls because they see that, hey, we're on the same playing field. Yes, I'm the owner, but no, I'm not here and you're down here. We're here when we're working this position, instead of me thinking I'm here and you're down here, and here's all your phone calls where you effed up, instead of going over any of mine that I did.
But isn't that the hierarchy you feel like a lot of shops are built around? Like there is a lot of owners that want that hierarchy, that want that I'm here, you're all below me, I pay you, you do what I tell you to do, and that's it, right? Like there's a lot like that. And it's unfortunate because until you realize you start building leaders in every part, and just to your point, you want a leader as an advisor, you want a leader as a tech, you want them all to be the person of that job. I want you to start teaching me how to do this stuff, right? I want you to start learning these tricks and tell me, I'm like, holy, I never thought of doing it like that. Right on. Like, I just learned something new, like, and, but that doesn't work unless there's mutual respect. Like, then you tell them that, and how powerful is it when they respect you and you can turn around and say, dude, I've never thought of it like that. Just made their week, right? Like, it's just
Yeah,
a total ego fluff.
right. You want to make technicians or employees feel appreciated. Criticize, constructive criticize yourself all day long. I do it all day long. I'm the first one to admit my mistakes. You know why? My master tech's still with me because he knows I'm the first one to admit my mistakes. I don't leave myself high and mighty. I don't think I'm God's gift to the auto repair industry. I'm nobody. I'm nobody special. I'm nobody different. I'm just another, cog in the automotive wheel. And they know that. They know that I will own my shit. And then it's, if they know that, dude, it's 10 times easier to confront them on their stuff because they know that I'm doing it as well. The guys that feel high and mighty, that are out there, what does their employer, what's the word I'm looking for? I can't even think about it. Oh my God. Rapport, repel, or, what's
Yeah,
the culture?
the rapport, yeah.
Yeah, what's that culture? You want to get guys to, or guys or gals to bust your ass for them? Be the first one to admit your mistakes. Hey, I messed up. I messed up. I messed up. The more I do that and the better I get at it, dude, it's 10 times easier to approach them and go, hey, here's where you messed up. Here's where you made a mistake. Or I'll walk up to them this, hey, cool, we're going to learn something here. Or, hey, I want to learn something about this. When I show up like that and approach the situation with that, dude, it's 10 times easier. They're not defensive. They don't get into defensive mode instantly like we can do. Is I think getting into defensive mode is a natural human trait, and
Oh
when
yeah.
we approach it from that way, they don't put up that I'm in trouble wall and here's how I got to defend myself. I don't want that. No, you never have to defend yourself. Let's talk about it, see what we can learn from about it, and then they own it, and then they'll feel. I don't want to say they'll feel bad, and they're motivated. How can I get the? How can I make? How can I help make it up?
Yeah. Yeah, it's like you said on the human trait of always being defensive. How many inmates are incarcerated that feel like they're actually guilty? How many how many times someone went up there and pleaded, "I'm guilty," that are incarcerated right now, right? Like
Right.
you will just defend yourself to a fault if you're called out on anything. But it's like the first natural reaction to catch somebody to point it out and blame them. And it's so strange how we're wired like that, but
Right, right, right. I
it's
tell
just
you what,
yeah, it's that's tough, man.
my texts they'll come up and admit their mistakes because I do that. They'll just flat out come up. Hey, Dave, I messed up here. I broke this. Here's what we can do to fix it. And I'll give them some. I'll sarcastically give them some trouble about it. Give them some stuff about it. But dude, how do you not respect the
Yeah,
hell out of that when he comes up? Hey, I broke this. Um, this is how I think we can fix it, dude. Right on, right on. Because when they know they could come up to me and go, I made a mistake or I messed up. And that goes back to me because I do it. That's when the magic happens, because they're going to want to bust their ass even a little bit harder. They're going to push themselves to get this job done because they know they're not making the company any money. They're not. And they know that. That's the culture and the aura that I've built at my place that I want is where people can feel comfortable, making mistakes because it's going to happen. We're humans. God didn't
yeah,
make us perfect for a reason, and it just works. But it starts with the hierarchy, like you talked about. If I walk around thinking I don't make mistakes, they're not going to want to admit those. I don't care. I'll MacGyver this, and if it comes back, oh well.
yeah. I'll
But that
just
doesn't
hide this,
happen,
right? Yeah,
right? Yeah, they will. That prevents that. That's why there's hacks in some of these places because it starts with management. No,
absolutely.
not to say that there's not hacks out there. There is because I've had a couple that worked for me. I fired them both, but for the most part,
Well,
I
it
want
just
to
goes back to
believe.
their training and how they were raised in the industry. Like, and if that's what they knew, how do you expect them to come work for you and completely change the way they've been trained for years, right? And
Hmm.
it's nothing on you and your management, but it's like that's just what they thought was the right thing to do because that's where they came from, was what they do. And
Mm.
maybe there's 1% that just like truly don't care, but really like, and you read it too in the social media stuff. You think like, oh man, that guy just didn't care what he was doing. And like, there is like, come on, really? You think there's guys out there like that truly do like? There's a large population of people that truly do not care. No, it's just they just weren't trained correctly.
Yeah, I agree. And that goes back to what we were talking about earlier is, do they got the right responsibilities at home? And unfortunately, were they raised in a home that had the right responsibilities? Because sometimes, I think we're
Yeah,
a byproduct of our upbringing. And if people were unfortunately raised in a home that, just didn't understand that or didn't know that, well, what do you think we're going to get as them as employers? What kind of adult do you think they're going to be? They don't know any better because they weren't brought up in an environment that was taught. So yeah, I mean that's a really good point there, Jimmy.
yeah. Well, lots of good information here.
No, I've loved this,
I,
man.
yeah, I appreciate your time. This is a lot of good insight. I mean,
Absolutely.
and you never know quite know where it's going to go, right? But I think in this day and age, I mean, talking about hiring and talking about retaining employees, I think is the subject right now. I mean, it's
Yeah,
always
so
been since the beginning of time, but it's like it's more prevalent than ever right now.
well, here's my take on that is people want to work. Okay. That thing that people don't want to work, there's people out there that don't want to work. There's always been people that don't want to work. the way people can work has completely changed. That's what we're competing with. We're not competing, we're competing against the way people can work. The way people could work before COVID and after COVID has completely changed, and COVID caused that. So that thing that you because every industry has employee issues, okay? And the reason is it's not that there's not techs out there, there is, and it's just the way our society can work has completely changed. People have more opportunity because I've got friends, they don't have a job, they don't have a business, they got a bunch of side hustles. And people can do that now. People can sustain livability with not having a job. They don't need a business because me and you guys want businesses, right? I want to be able to go take a week's vacation and my business just runs it, generates gross revenue, net income without me there, right? That's what we want for. That's what we're striving for. And there's a lot of people that don't want that. Okay, cool, nothing wrong. The way they can work has completely changed. That's why everybody's hiring. You know why everybody's hiring is because people have found that there's a lot more ways to make money and make a living than there was prior to COVID. That's what COVID did. COVID really shifted the way our society, at least here in the United States, can work. And there's way more opportunity than ever for people to work. Just flat out is. It's not that people don't want to work. The way and there's more opportunities for them to work can.
Yeah. Yeah, the 8 to 5 is going away, right? I mean, it's not gone away, and it's not like a huge, but it's slowly eroding, and moving to a 10-4 and or 4-10s, and doing all these creative things to give people 3-day weekends or remote work. Like that was a big one, right? That changed everything. Now you see all these vacancies of all these commercial buildings because everyone realized, wow, I don't really need a brick and mortar. I can do this from home. I have all the technology sitting here the whole time. I didn't really realize that. And it's to your point, right? That's exactly what happened. The realization was set in. Oh man, there's people on TikTok making $1 million a year. Well, I'd be happy making like 50,000 a year on that. That should be pretty easy for me, right? And they start doing videos and they start making money, and you're like, wow. And then there's 4, 5, 6 other platforms that they can do the same stuff to generate all these different revenue sources. So you're absolutely right. Um, but I think there's still people that want a job. I think there's still people that want to go somewhere like you and I that want something structured. They want to build something that can give back to the community, that can have someone that wants a job, that wants to show up to do something like that. That's meaningful. And not to say that, selling feet picks isn't meaningful, but let's get real here, right? Like when you can fix something with your hands and help someone get their family to their where they need to go, that's a big deal. You're being meaningful. And I think maybe, I don't know, there's no facts behind this, but maybe that will shift in the next handful of years as people start realizing, man, I'm just like this weird uh I don't know, content creator that doesn't really do anything meaningful, right? And I saw that a lot with corrections. And not to say that's not meaningful, but a lot of guys getting these jobs because they're searching for the paycheck. And back to your point about like job hunting and trying to find who's going to pay me the most, they go to these corrections jobs and then they realize all they're doing is sitting there for 10 hours a day. And it's just as close to being as an inmate as being an inmate is, and they just
Mm.
can't do it. And I've seen so many people take a pay cut just so they can go back into something that's more meaningful to them. And that is never lost, right? And that's
Mm-mm.
that, and that's what's important. And just to your point of like, you want someone who wants a career, that's absolutely right, because they want to be part of something that's growing, that's successful, that does things to the community. And I think that's important. And I don't think that'll be lost. And I think that's probably going to make a change coming back here.
No, so I had two. Once upon a time, I had two young ladies who were both. I had an advisor. She was 25 years old, and I had my apprentice tech. She's 22. And then there's guys like me and my master tech. We're both in our early 40s. I could treat him exactly the same way I was brought up, and he didn't really care. I didn't have to really do a whole lot outside of making sure he had a paycheck and health insurance for him to be happy. The other two young ladies, because at our employee meetings, he's just like, "Are you effing kidding me? When is this going to be done? I got this car that I got to work on." Because he's an old school flat rate tech, right? But these two young ladies, when I talked about being something greater than themselves, having a purpose, dude, their eyes lit up like a 10-year-old at Christmas. And it was like I had the aha moment. So as employers, I don't care what business you're in. Okay, it doesn't matter if you're going to be an employer. You got to adapt to what the what based on what generation that you have and that demographic, what are they really looking for? My young apprentice tech, she wants to know that she's making a difference. She wants to feel empowered. She wants to feel all those things. My master tech, he could care less about all of that. I can half-ass treat him nice, and as long as I got a paycheck in there, he's fine, right? But that's how we were brought up in this business. I've been in
Yeah.
this in the late '90s, and him, that's how it was. I mean, if the late '90s and or in the 2000s, we may not have been treated the best. You can't do that to this new generation, and it's not a knock on them. People that knock the younger generation, well, you're stuck in your old ways. You're not
Yeah.
evolving. You're not adapting, and it doesn't. I'm telling you, man, it doesn't. The thing mentality I practice every day, and I try to get better. It's not right, wrong, good, or bad. You can't put that connotation on it because as soon as I put that on there, I'm just screwing myself. So the people that think that this new generation as lazy, bad work ethic. No, that's always been there. You're looking at it as right, wrong, good, or bad when you just look at it as this is how they want to be treated, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. Let me evolve and adapt. That's those are the shops are going to be around because what keeps me up at night about this business? It's not EVs. EVs aren't going to put us out of business. Okay, it's not, especially here in St. Louis. Dude, we'll be the last major metropolitan to adopt it just because of how effed up this government is. It's all that tech that's in the dashboards. Go look at a 2022 F-150. These newer vehicles, and it's got that big electronic dash. What's is Snap-on going to be able to? Snap-on Autel going to be able to provide us the diagnostic equipment so that we can properly test it to keep us competitive against the dealers. I said that's what
That's
keeps
right.
me up at night. Not
That's
about
right.
Tesla. Tesla ain't going to put us out of business. It's not. It's not. Gas is here to stay. It's not going anywhere to. It's that tech. That's what keeps me up at night. And we're going to have consumers that are okay with the average independent can fix 60% of the car? Because right now, at least at me, we could do that 80 to 90%. There's always that 10, 15 to 20 we can't because I don't have the dealer tool, okay, or the manufacturer. So I got dealership experience behind me as well. So I know this and I can speak for this because the dealer's the only one dude that can fix the whole car. I don't care what brand it is, they're the only ones that can fix the whole car because they have everything from the manufacturer. So as this industry evolves, gets more tech, right? Are consumers going to be okay that, okay, this 30, 40%, I got to go back to my local dealer, and this 50, 60, an independent shop like mine can service. That's what keeps me up at night.
Yeah, it's the Right to Repair Act. We have to make sure we're like standing behind that, and there's plenty of organizations that are pushing up, like SEMA and Apex and
Yeah.
stuff like that. Go participate in the Right to Repair Act and make
Yeah.
sure that we keep that, right. Because the same thing happened with phones, right. It's exactly what's going to happen. There's going to be, it's not even going to be the tech. It's just going to literally be, you have to pay to get into that. And then we've already been there, right? Like all service information. Look at Nissan. You got to pay for that subscription to obtain that. It's already here. We've already been dealing with it. And so,
Right.
how much more is it to say? Oh, you want to remove and replace that infotainment system? Nope. You got to pay $500 a month for access to whatever they want you to not have access to, right? And whether that's ordering the parts or being able to program the parts. I mean, it's something we're literally doing. Like you said, we're already at 90%. We've already been taking 10% away because a lot of that stuff is just not cost effective to get that information to program. Put a Nissan CVT in. Just take it to the dealer. I'm not spending that kind of money to have that subscription. I'm not doing 20 a month, right? So it just doesn't make sense. So it's already happening. So I mean, it's a valid point, and it's something that we got to make sure we're tuning into. And anytime something like that happens, there's always something else that distracts us, right? And that's what the EV is. The EV is just the distraction of what's really actually happening that's going to take us out,
Mm.
right?
Wow, I've never thought about it like that. And what cracks me up and what doesn't make any sense is these OEMs have to know their dealership network cannot service all the vehicles. And people don't want to go to the dealers. Do they just flat out?
No,
People don't want to
the
flat
experience is
out.
not the experience is not anywhere near where some of these top shops are given, right? Like it's the
Yeah.
experience they get.
Well, what's sad is from my dealership days is they put all their, and I'm just speaking from my experience, they put a lot of eggs into their sales side, but honestly, we both know it's the service department that retains customers because I sell cars too. If I sell a car, Well, how much time do I have with that consumer? Because I do the complimentary oil changes, complimentary retentions. I got stuff to retain them to get them to come back. So when they come back, if I give them rock star service, who the hell do you think they're going to want to buy another car from? Dude, it's easy. It's a kind of like a no brainer. I'm dumbfounded how they're not putting more effort into their service department, because if people have an awesome rock star sales experience, and yes, it's under warranty, and they know they got to go back here for the first few years or whatever, if they have a horrible experience, do you think they're going back to that dealer? Hell no. They're going to
Right.
go. The dealer's going to lose that customer. The retention's in the service department. It starts in the sales and ends in the service department. Just flat out it does. So with mine, I want to provide that rock star service experience after the sale, after the real money's been exchanged, because if people pay way more for a car than they do auto repair, because it's that big dollar amount up front. They don't think about all the money they pay for auto repair over the long haul. They just think about that one time that they're spending, 15, 2 grand. They
Oh, so
put
a monthly payment, six
yeah,
hundred
they
dollars a
see
month.
yeah, they see that big, and then they think that, because I see it all the time.
Yeah, monthly payments, 600 a month. I can afford that.
Dude, you know what? I learned how buy here, pay here's get a bad rap. So I started doing financing this year, right? And so I got 7 people making monthly car payments to me. 4 of them are traditional buy here, pay here. And one out of the 4, he's a friend of mine. He flips houses. He's in business. He wanted to know what the interest rate is, what are the terms, all the other things about it. And he was very happy and educated. Now the other 3, how much do you need down? I have this much I can put down. What's my monthly payment going to be? They have no clue what they're paying for the vehicle. No, not they have absolutely no clue. These are previous customers, right? So obviously, I'm not jacking them around, because if they find out, I want them to come back.
Yeah,
But that's why the buy here, pay here and I'm gonna throw the dealers in the same loop. And you know what? It's not their fault. It's not the dealer's fault that consumers don't educate themselves on what they're really paying for the car before they sign to the bottom line. That's not the
yeah,
dealer's fault. That's not. Now that's not to let the dealers off the hook. But at the end of the day, all these people that got car payments, nobody put a gun to their head and said sign here. Nobody
right.
put a gun to their head and said sign. Nobody forced them to sign. They did that on their own free will. That's not the dealer's fault. And I will argue that 25 hours a day, 8 days a week. That's not their fault that they screwed themselves, because they didn't take the time to let me take this with me, and I'm going to go talk to somebody that understands money, and then if they agree with it, I'll come back. We see that on the repair side, because I know we've experienced this, where we give the customer the breakdown of the number, and then they go talk to somebody else about it, and because they don't relay that information properly to them, they tell them they're screwing you, and then we look like a bad guy. How
Yeah,
much I've yet to experience that on the auto sale side, just flat out.
yeah, yeah. That's a good point to bring up, because that happens a lot. Look at the parts they go on Rock Auto. Hey, I get this part on eBay or Rock Auto. Like,
Okay, then have eBay
here
put
we
it on
go.
for you. Call the guy
Yeah,
on YouTube, see what he charges. Why are you calling me? I've told a couple people that have pushed my button. I said, well, call the guy on YouTube, ask him what he charges. Why are you bothering me? I've
yeah,
said that a few times over there, because they just push my buttons, and I don't
yeah.
care. I don't
But
care.
it's the same thing. It's just lack of consumer education. And it's the same problems we deal on the repair side. It's the same problems that dealers have, selling a car they shouldn't be selling, right? Just lack of consumer education. And even though there's plenty of social media, there's plenty of YouTube, there's plenty of education out there, everyone just avoids learning anything. They just want entertainment, right? And so the big pull right now is trying to make this education uh, and trying to make the education more entertainment based, right? And
Yeah,
trying to make it
yeah.
make it more showy. And you know what? And I think it's fantastic. A lot of guys knock these social media content creators, giving away the trade secrets. You're telling all the answers. It's like, no, they're making education entertainment and letting people have more consumer education so they understand what they should expect when they go somewhere, right? And so I'm all about it.
Well, they're going to be a more educated and empowered consumer. The right ones are going to go, I don't want to do that. I want to pay somebody. Let me pay somebody that's not going to, that, in the event something happens, they're going to be there for me. And I love how you brought up communication. I don't care what business you're in, that's the key to communication. What I've learned is I've been practicing. The better I understand the languages of the businesses my businesses do business with, I get great service. Because when I'm the consumer, because I deal with a lot of B2B, and the ones that I'm just going to throw the promotional products industry under the bus, y'all suck at communicating with me. And the more I understand their language, I get great service. This shirt I'm wearing, I'm going back to one guy for a tire because he took the time to communicate with me to make damn sure I got what I wanted. Because I bought stuff from other people and I'm like, that's not what I wanted. Well, and it's because of poor communication on their part. Because what businesses don't understand, at least in my experience, the ones that, and this is stuff I've learned. Believe me, I didn't wake up and know all this stuff one day. It's like, dude, I get great along great with my bookkeeper and my accountant because I speak QuickBooks. I am fluent in QuickBooks and I am fluent in accounting, and I'm learning what ESP stands for, vector file. The different sizes. And sometimes if I'm doing business with somebody for the first time, I flat out tell them, talk to me like I'm a 5-year-old because I don't understand the language of your business. If you think that's so, the businesses that my business do business with, the reason I got poor communication is they don't realize or forget that I don't speak your language. Like Jimmy, we have our own language. Everything has its own language. And when you're talking to somebody, you got to remember that they don't speak their language.
Yep.
Our average consumer doesn't speak automotive. And when I'm the consumer, I've told people that I'm like, dude, I don't speak that language. So you got to talk to me like I'm a 5-year-old. You're not going to insult me. I've had this conversation with people. Look, we've never met before. I'm going to learn at what level you're at, so I know how to properly communicate with you, so you get great service. Dude, you'd be surprised how many people I went over when I say that. I want to learn what level you're at, so that way I know how to properly communicate to you, so I can give you rock star service. And dude, it breaks down the invisible wall. It's like, oh wow, well I'm an idiot. I don't know anything. Okay, cool. I'm going to take as much time as I need to so that way you feel good about the decision you're making. Dude, I sell a ton of work that way. And then two, when I'm the consumer, I have that same conversation, except I reverse roles because I tell people, look, I want to get good service. So I'm going to ask 1,000 questions because I don't speak your language, dude. I don't understand this. And I'm going to take the time to Google all this stuff to teach me. You got to teach me the language of the business that your business is doing. So that way I don't get screwed. It works.
That's an awesome take. Absolutely. Yep. Because even though we're understanding the words, the language isn't there.
Yeah, exactly. And I kind of had that. I've thought about that. I'm going to start a business that teaches B2B business language because that's where it's at. Like I don't like, especially with the graphics art and the promotional products. Like I need this at this many pixels. Well, okay. Tell me how a CVT Nissan transmission works. I don't know.
Right.
I've literally said that to people. I don't know what that is, dude. If you think I understand your business, if you're not willing to do that, then I'm going to go find somebody else. And I've told people this. I've told this guy, I don't care what you charge me. This is just because it takes care of me. I will gladly pay for somebody to. I'll pay for people's time because at the end of the day, it costs me more money when I get this shirt and it's not what I want. I'd rather pay more and get what I want the first time than to have to take time to find somebody that'll do it the way I want them to. Like this guy,
Yeah.
dude, I don't care what he charges me because it's going to be what I want because he's going to do his due diligence. He's going to take the time to properly communicate with me. Like if you look at all my Google reviews, there's one on there that are negative. There's one I flat out earned. And I will admit that on that. And I acted extremely inappropriately not too long after I opened my brick and mortar. The rest of them, that's all poor communication on our part, just flat out. We did not properly communicate with the customer. That's why we had a bad Google review. So the
Yeah.
better we get at communicating, then we don't have those.
And not just communicating, but speaking the right language, like you said.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And just flat out asking people, I want to learn what level you're at with this. Not to insult you. I don't know. And this will help me provide you better service as if you could help me with that. Dude, I haven't had anybody tell me no. Just
That's
flat
awesome.
out.
That's the golden nugget for the day.
Mm-hmm. Dude, there's been a ton of golden nuggets in this episode. You want my opinion?
Yeah, it's gonna be good.
Yeah, hell
Well,
yeah.
I really appreciate your time and coming on.
Absolutely.
Yeah, once again, David Marks from Missouri. Did I say it right that time?
Yeah,
And
I
it's
don't care.
and okay. And what's the name of the shop?
Oh, so it's Quality Auto Repair, Tire, and Auto Sales is the name of it.
Okay, that's a mouthful.
Yeah, well, dude, it's Google likes it. I got all the keywords. The name of the business is for Google, dude, just flat out. If
There
Google
it
says,
is.
if whatever Google loves, I love, you have to, otherwise you're going to get left behind.
It's like the old
Google
phone
loves
book
this
days,
name.
huh?
Yeah, Google loves this name. That's flat out why it is. Google loves the name. It appeases all the keywords.
Awesome. Well, thanks again, man. And then hang out for just a minute while this thing uploads.